Choo choo. All aboard the chaos train.
Choo choo, yeah.
That was so lame. I am so sorry.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
going to need to get my energy up.
Yeah. Is your coffee making the first appearance in an M&M? Love it.
Enjoy the journey, says the coffee mug.
Hey, maybe we all just take a moment and do a nice big...
Traded sigh, like, here we go again, sigh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When your phone is going ding, 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 and you're like,
That opens Pandora's box a little bit for you. I'm showing up at the wrong location at the wrong time because
change the calendar.
changing the calendar. And
I love that.
Yeah,
Are we going to completely ignore the
are
fact?
we going to completely ignore the fact that you're huge?
Huge. And
Megan's going to be free again.
I don't know, the rules of the game will change.
Man, when it rains, it pours. And this is what
Adult and difficult conversations with. This device is probably the most dangerous thing you could have.
latchkey kids, we did stupid stuff, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. It led to a broken bone.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, yay!
Bad choices memorialized forever. Kids aren't ready for what that phone
Right.
exposes them to.
Right.
Yeah. But we're on it. I mean, like, we're locked in now. You guys don't even know what's behind the curtain.
Right.
The dumbest thing we could do is like throw a firecracker at some kid. Pegs were awesome.
Pegs were so cool. I'd ride on the back and we'd go to piano lessons that way.
It is like the most innocent Leave It to Beaver scene I can picture in my head.
Learn the exact lesson that we learned on their older child.
Gotcha. And just like, are we failing? Are we just completely failing? Hey, whoa, another domino falls.
Oh, yeah.
And another, and another.
I'm not asking for good news.
Right.
I'm not asking to win the lottery. I'm not even asking for sunshine.
I don't want to say I had bad luck, but I couldn't even buy a lottery ticket.
You're kidding.
You stinking kidding me. The doors slam. I mean, so many doors are slamming right now.
Yeah.
We're living our lives right now.
Yeah.
Today's the only day we have.
Yeah. Wanting to lose myself in the music that I was listening to or sing or... Oh, I was...
Playing G.I. Joe, playing with my Transformers, drawing, listening to music.
Music. Let me, remove myself from the chaos and have a moment of peace.
Yeah.
15-year-old Megan. Guards.
Well, filling out the bubbles was a little stressful because
Did you make sure they were perfect too? Like, I would erase it if I went out.
I did. But the harder ones were the ones that were the rectangles.
Yeah. Much better at circles.
Scantrons. They still have Scantrons?
And it was 20 years ago yesterday that we officially met.
Yep. That's exciting.
Which is super cool.
It's neat.
Where did 20 years go?
Yeah.
I'm still 25. Like, what in the world happened?
Right, Bobby. Don't you
I'll put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Naivety.
We're really finishing each other's sentences today.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's just life.
That's life aboard the Chaos Express, as
It
we.
is. Mm-hmm.
If anybody offers you free candy, get in the van.
Right.
Welcome to the Mr. and Mrs. Inglis Podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Shaen. We're here to talk about the wild ride of raising kids, growing careers, and keeping life together in the middle of all the chaos.
So buckle up, because we're all in this crazy journey together.
Puh.
Your mic seems a little bit low, honey. As you lean over to do your bops.
I don't know. I don't know what was up with that.
Usually it's a little closer to your mouth.
Something was odd there. I don't know.
Maybe you were doing a dance move, like you were doing truly a doo-wop with your bops.
Yeah. I think we established I don't do doo-wops, but yeah, my mic's a little off this morning.
It's a little off kilter this morning. Well, is your coffee making the first appearance in an M&M?
It is. We are.
I love it.
Enjoy the journey, says the coffee mug.
Hey, that is absolutely appropriate for what it feels like the journey has been and needing that reminder to enjoy the journey that we've been on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like, maybe we all just take a moment and do a nice big...
It's a collective sigh for everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes in our household, one of us will sigh, right? And then the other person will say, was that a good sigh? Or is that a, Like, just a frustrated sigh, like, here we go again sigh.
Exactly.
So that was a good sigh for me, or just a unload,
Yes.
try to unload sigh.
Yeah. I think I probably do more sighs of just an unload type sigh, right? It's to just get out and like refocus myself, recenter myself. I don't know if it works, but I tend to have that habit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how good the habit is.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably annoying more than anything.
No, God, no. I mean, you got to everybody has to have a pressure valve.
Yes.
And I think as we talk about a little bit what to talk about today, going into this, and we're really late now because life just got crazy.
Right.
As usual. And, we talked about last week how when it rains, it pours, and it's just continued to pour. And it was funny because I was texting with somebody who watches the show, and they're like, oh, yeah, it sounds like you've got some soccer drama going on.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we do have some soccer drama going on, but that's one of like 10,
Right.
and it is taking up time. I mean, like during the day, there's text fly. I mean, that is anybody involved in that kind of thing, whether it's probably competitive cheer or soccer or baseball. I'm sure that everybody's got this kind of stuff. It's this time of year where, teams are being formed and fall apart and people are trying to go here or there.
Yep.
So that's always a stressful time of year.
It is. And we're always just trying to stay above the fray, right? And try not to be emotional about it. But because it's a big part of our kids' life, it's a big part of our life, it does inherently then create that stress. And you're like, when your phone is going ding, 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 and you're like, I am trying to get some work done. Like
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
that for me causes a ton of anxiety, and not knowing then, feeling like I need to focus here, but yet I get that distraction and
Yeah.
then I don't know what's going on because I didn't read the latest and greatest text message.
And that opens Pandora's box a little bit for you, because in our household, you handle the calendar.
Yeah. Yep.
You're kind of tasked, for whatever reason, you've taken over that, to go through all the emails from school, from sports teams, from our daily doctors and dentist appointments, and you put them on our respective calendars.
Right.
And our lives are literally ran by the calendar.
Oh.
And I know most people out there are the same way, but I mean, quite literally, I'll get in a car, pull up my calendar, which automatically goes to Waze, and it takes me there.
Yeah.
And if the calendar is wrong, the wrong location, the wrong time, I'm showing up at the wrong location at the wrong time because I live by my calendar, versus all the dings that you're getting that potentially
could change the calendar.
Changing the calendar. And we have some coaches that are better or worse than others, and they'll change literally while we're on our way.
That happened just this week.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah. No, 2 nights ago. I had to turn around.
Yeah.
Then bring a kid home.
Yeah.
And then I was late because I was like, well, I can't just take this kid with me now. So then I wasn't late, but we got there right on time, which, what is the old adage of like, if you're on time, you're late?
Yeah. Right. It's not better late than never.
No. I mean, that's an old adage too.
It is, but it's not that one.
It's not that one.
There's another one. Like it's closer to the early bird gets the worm
Right.
adage, right?
Yeah.
But as our oldest always says, are we? What does he always say? Are we going to completely ignore the fact?
Oh.
So
that is his phrase. I love that.
Yeah,
Are we going to completely ignore the fact?
Are we going to completely ignore the fact that you're driving again? You have re-entered the driving pool.
I have. That is a massive
You have two drivers
update.
again. Huge.
Huge. And for both of us,
Yeah.
number one, you get some relief. You had a night home this week to get some things done around the house.
I did. I mowed the lawn.
Right.
I cleaned out the pool. I trimmed a tree.
Right. And you spent some time with the two boys that were home.
I wish I could say that was the case, but kind of, yeah. Oh, it was the night of the national championship.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. So we did. I sat down by like 8:15.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got to talk about, watch a little basketball. And they never watch basketball. They are not into watching college basketball.
No, but they were that night.
Yeah, it was fun. So that's good. Yeah, we have to have more of those times.
Yeah. Which you haven't had any of those for 3 months because I haven't driven. And it's just, anyway. So it's good for you.
Yep.
And it's good for me too. It also feels nice to have that independence back.
Yeah.
I think I said even on this podcast, like, I'm going to go to CVS and buy some toothpaste
Right.
or deodorant. I don't remember what it was, but ironically, on my way home that night, I actually did stop at the CVS and bought some stuff. So
Yeah. I've been joking with the parents on the sideline, like, well, gosh, Megan's going to be free again. I've had her captive. Wherever she needed to go, she had to go through me.
it's
Really nice. Like a total control. I'm just kidding.
You're like, can I just relinquish this control, please?
Yeah, no, it's great to have you back on that. But yeah, we needed that. And it's just, we often struggle right on this podcast to figure out what we should talk about. Because we've hinted once or twice that we do want to keep this somewhat high level and fun.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to get into politics and, God knows there's all kinds of stuff we could talk about, the equity markets, are on skids. And it's like, I've got a lot of opinions on whether that's good or bad. And I'm sure you do too. I know your first call today at your job was about tariffs and implications of that. But we have a lot to say about that kind of stuff. But it's just, I don't know in today's world that's where we should focus.
Right.
And I don't know if that's what our podcast is. That's not what our podcast is about, economic,
Right. It's about, family and juggling it all. And, I think a lot of times those types of topics add more pressure or more, fuel to the fire sometimes, right? But
sure.
For the most part,
that's family. I mean, that's our 401k. Those are our equity
Right.
portfolios, our investments,
yeah.
So, I don't like the fact that we're going to be a generation when it's all said and done that's going to go through 3 recessions potentially, or
know.
who knows how many by the time we actually get to retirement age.
Right.
Every time we have a recession, potentially, and don't get me wrong, we've had some good runs and we've made some smart buys and stuff like that. But and now I'm getting off track. We are getting into economic stuff, but that is part of the roller coaster and the chaos of life.
Right.
That we talk about. But man, when it rains, it pours. And this is what I'm talking about a little bit here. It's just, there's been a lot of different subjects that we've been going through that have really weighed on us.
Yep.
And we're not going to get into all of them, obviously, but the soccer is just, that is the least important, lightest subject of them all.
Yeah.
That's kind of safe to talk about on here.
Yeah.
But another one that I know you wanted to mention, which has been prevalent this week.
Yeah, is just teens and social media. And, I think the pressures that face our teens today are different than the pressures that we had as teens. And, we're learning this. Maybe we'll have this down by the time our youngest is a teenager. Maybe. I don't know. The rules of the game will change. Different kid. But it has been a tough week learning how to navigate really some adult and difficult conversations with teenagers.
Yeah.
Or, a teenager and how social media influences that. And yeah, it's been tough. And I think a lot of people, and I talked to a lot of moms, and, there's a lot of different strategies, and it's just, do we really know what our kids are doing? And we were joking, like, this device, and I happen to have mine right here, like, this device is probably the most dangerous thing you could have. I honestly, after this past week and some of the just conversations, it's like, man, I feel really good about you driving right now. I feel way more worried about your phone than I do about you operating a vehicle.
Yeah. And I mean, just to be specific, I mean, that comment kind of pointed to our oldest, and we're not pointing out any of our children in this conversation.
No, we're not. Yeah.
But you're just using that as an example.
Yes.
I don't want to point the finger at any one of our children on this, but I mean, every parent knows that that's our age, that this is just a different era these kids are growing up in. Mm-hmm. It's way more dangerous. They have way more exposure to things that can ruin their lives much quicker, right?
Yes.
Latchkey kids, we did stupid stuff, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
But the stupid stuff I feel like that we did,
it led to a broken bone.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, yay.
Exactly. We're going to break a bone, because we're just being dumb, hanging off a car. It was stupid stuff, But I never and those are part of the conversations we had this week of one mistake in this world of a digital era, that this digital age that we live in, something goes out, it lives forever.
Yeah.
And not that I ever did anything I think that I can point to when I was younger that I'm like, gosh, I'm glad there wasn't pictures of that.
Right.
But that being said, I mean, like, we all are just, especially when you're growing up, you're never going to make all good choices.
No.
Right. So, you definitely don't want, choices memorialized, bad choices memorialized forever.
Right.
And then you start peeling back that onion even more, and you talk about that. What they have access to and who has access to them
Yes.
is frightening. And I don't, and this is where we've learned as parents this week that we've hit on this on a lightly throughout the years, but it was full, bore in our face this week.
Right.
That we probably took that too lightly, and we needed to hit that more head on of just how dangerous those things are and how kids aren't ready for what that phone exposes them to.
Right. And I should also say, like, this is really the first time we have really seen it head on, and there's right now nothing that is horrible or super damaging, but it's just, hey, we need to really get a hold of this before it could lead to that in the future if we don't set stricter guardrails today, like this moment.
Well, I think because we're adults and we're the way we are, it's like, a millimeter in the wrong direction is like full bore stop, pull the emergency brake up. It's not like we went off course here. And it's like, oh my God, we're going to be, this is going to be a lifetime to prepare this. Nothing like that.
Nothing like that. Right.
But it is like, okay, we're young, and that's partially why, because our kids are young enough that we need to make sure that law is laid and that understanding is laid, and that we are taking the right precautions as parents.
Yes.
That maybe we were a little too lax on. Maybe there's too much trust, or maybe there's just naivety.
We're really finishing each other's sentences today.
Sandcastles, yes. Yeah. But we're on it. I mean, like, we're locked in now. We've had a lot of locked in conversations this week. So.
Right. And it's, so I think it was naivete probably on our part, probably on our kids' parts too, right? And that's
for
where
sure.
It's like, I know there was a ton of naivete on their part, and it was like, no, this could be so dangerous,
It's so interesting because we have generations that live, different generations that we know that listen to this podcast, and when they see us going through our parenting, and this is one that I would be curious of how they parallel this with their experience, because I know everybody at that our parents' generation that's thinking back on, oh, they're in this phase of their life, and oh yeah, we told you so, because we always say that, right?
Yeah.
You always hear your parents say that. You just wait till you're a parent.
Yeah.
And we're in that, but I didn't have a mobile phone that could see the darkest parts of the world by just typing something into Google.
Right.
As innocent or innocently as it may have been. Right. I mean, we've had a lot of uncomfortable conversations this week, and I remember having some of those uncomfortable conversations when I was a child, but never to this extent.
Right.
Of what's out there. So.
Yeah.
I'd be curious what they parallel that to, because I'm sure they can smile too, but I mean, like, I don't know, what was the worst thing we could be exposed to back then? I mean, it was really hard to be exposed to some of these type things, I mean, like, we were never exposed to a predator unless they pulled up in a van.
Right.
Which we jokingly always say, like, if anybody ever hears me when our kids get out of our car at soccer games, I'm like, if anybody offers you free candy, get in the van.
Right.
As a joke,
It's a joke, and they know that.
Because it probably does happen, and I don't want to make light of that. But for us, it's kind of our joke in our family of like, don't make stupid choices.
That's exactly right. And it's like, there's so many more opportunities for that kind of thing. Yes, it does happen, and we don't want to make light, but it can happen more on, that social media presence, that digital platform. It's like,
yeah.
And it is terrifying as a parent. And what, as you were talking, you were saying, like, it'll be, I'd love to hear what some of the older generation that are listening to this and what they liken this to, as they were raising their kids. There could be, if we think back on all the dangers that we had, like, we were naive at the time. So, like, our parents were probably like, yeah, but there were so many more dangers, maybe not compared to today, but, like, there were a lot of dangers that you weren't aware of, that I was protecting you from.
It's a good point. It's a good point because I said the exact same thing to our children this week. Is like, you guys don't even know what's behind the curtain.
Right.
Yet. Slowly but surely, we draw those curtains, and you'll draw those curtains on your own as you even get older. Right. But we draw those curtains that age appropriately.
Yeah.
And I think we were maybe drawing those curtains too slowly in some cases.
I think so.
And not fast enough in other cases. But I mean, at 48 years old, I think back to in the 80s, what I was exposed to, what I could have been exposed to, maybe. And now that I look back and think of things that other kids were doing, I mean, just say no to drugs. I mean, drugs were like the worst thing you could have got into back then.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, we didn't have school shootings. We didn't have, we had none of some of these crazy things that they have today. I mean, literally, the dumbest thing we could do is like throw a firecracker at some kid, or put a rope on our bike behind a car or something like that. I mean that's when who knows? I didn't do that.
I didn't do that. Although I did ride on like the like spokes of my brother's bike, like the wheels.
On the pegs.
On the pegs, yeah, that's what it was. I did ride on those.
Yeah.
We'd go to
pegs were awesome.
Pegs were so cool. I'd ride on the back, and we'd go to piano lessons that way.
That's hilarious. That is like the most innocent Leave It to Beaver scene I can picture in my head ever.
I know. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Tell me it had a banana seat on it. Banana seats don't go with pegs, but.
No. It was like my older brother had like a BMX type bike, and he had pegs on it. And, as I'm telling this story, I'm actually more surprised that my older brother played piano than anything. Like, as I think back on
I had no idea he did.
For like a year or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I digress. That was, that was rebel at the time.
So that's been one of them, calling up other parents and, because these kids just have so much.
In here, they have so much. And here, it does take a village. And that's part of why we started this podcast, right? Like, there's people in this together. And I think, we're so blessed to have people in our village that I can call and be like, hey, this is what I found out. You should probably check your kid's phone and blah, blah, blah. This is what happened. And
we're also figuring out what other parents do that we weren't doing to safeguard some of these situations.
Yeah.
Maybe just because that's where our naivety came in. And I don't want to say trust, but I think.
Well, what's interesting is that, the people I've talked to have older children. And almost everyone that I've talked to learn the exact lesson that we learned on their older child.
Gotcha. Well, that's good. That's good.
So, they're just a couple years ahead of us.
Because
we're a year ahead of us in all of it.
Because it's been 10 or 11 straight days now of just pouring rain in our lives.
It has.
And it's like, there's been multiple times we looked at each other this week and just like, are we failing? Are we just completely failing? In the important things.
In the important things.
And
so, we've talked about what do we do better, and we've talked about that.
That's not just family. Like I said, there's like 10 things that are happening right now. I was like, okay, whoa, another domino falls, and another, and another.
And I think I told you at some point in the past 10 days, I was like, can we just get a day that doesn't have bad news? Like, I just want to get to neutral.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for good news.
Right.
I'm not asking to win the lottery. I'm not even asking for sunshine. I simply want a neutral day. Not bad, not good.
It's funny that you just made me think of that, not asking to win the lottery. So every now and again, like, what is it? 12 times a year, I'll buy like a Mega Millions.
For sure.
Ticket.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I've been working on for months now is a business opportunity that fell through this last week. And, that's been disappointing. It's not the end of the world. Things will move on. But, I spent a lot of time and effort on this. Economically, things have shifted because of it. Mm-hmm. And so I went at 7-Eleven yesterday. I was filling up the car, and I went in to buy a lottery ticket. And it's not even a high one. It's only like 44 million or something like that. Because usually we'll wait till it's like $1 billion. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
why not us?
Why
like I
not?
could spend,
Yeah, why not?
we'll make everybody's life better if we win this.
Mhm.
But get this. I went in to buy $6 because that's what I always do.
Yeah.
I think that's 3 quick picks. It's
Okay.
$6,
Yeah.
12 times a year. Anyway, $72. But the girl couldn't figure out how to print the ticket. So I couldn't even buy a stinking lottery ticket because I don't want to say I have bad luck, but you've known me long enough. But I couldn't even buy a lottery ticket.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. I literally laughed as I walked out the door, just being like, are you stinking kidding me?
We don't even have a chance to have, like, that's just crazy. How does,
The door slam. I mean, so many doors are slamming right now.
yeah. Well, certainly winning the lottery is also not in our future. Not that I thought it was. And I'm okay with that.
No, but every now and then it's like, I mean, I'm sure everybody thinks this way, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
buys them. Most people will buy them every now and again. And it's just that moment of,
Like,
what if? Here's what I would do,
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like, oh, that would change everything. And we don't need the money, to be happy and all that kind of stuff because God knows money doesn't buy happiness.
No, it does not.
Not that we have enough to confirm that. It buys fun toys and stuff like that. But anyways, I thought that was funny.
It's true. And it doesn't change the things that really matter. No amount of money would have stopped some of the heartache that,
That's right.
we've had over the last week. So it's just like,
That's right.
yeah, but that is hilarious and a little ironic that you couldn't even buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah, I mean, doors just slamming shut everywhere.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's just life.
That's life aboard the Chaos Express, as
It
we
is. Mm-hmm.
put it
Yeah,
in the description of this podcast. So,
it is. It's
anyways,
chaos.
other people are there. Everybody has these seasons. We're in the midst of one of these seasons for us. We'll see some change and
Yep.
buckling down and just refocusing. And
Refocusing on family too, and just
one of the
like,
things we talked about.
yeah, like we're just like, we got to put our phones down. We got to be better at putting our own phones down, and
Mm-hmm.
doubling down on that family time. It was, as we were talking about kind of what we can do different. One of the things was like, clearly our children are begging for family time because for dinners, they're asking for, can we just have a family dinner? And instead of movie nights, they're like, can we do a game night? So like our kids are clearly clamoring for more togetherness.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's our focus. That's what we're giving them.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't think it's because of our family dynamics that, I'm sitting in a different room, staring at my phone, you're working in your office, the kid, till 5, that kind of happens because you're working,
Sure.
I'm working, they're at school, hopefully they're doing schoolwork, we pick them up.
Yeah.
But it truly is every night of the week. And, we have family members that try to FaceTime us, and just catch up with us. And so many times I'm like, sorry, I'm on the road to
On the road.
But I mean, quite literally, we will go stretches of 20 days straight where we have something every single night. We have practice every single night, but Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, we had soccer games on Friday nights for the
nights.
high schools.
Mm-hmm.
So my point to this isn't that, oh, we're so busy, but my point to this is when we're doing that, and this goes back a little bit to the first conversation we had here, is we've had to split up now
Yeah.
to conquer,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going here, you're going there, and then you're catching up, or we're catching up at one place, because we dropped someone else off here.
Yeah.
But the family's split, so someone's staying home with the dog, while 2 kids are out at their things, or one person's out, because we always still try to hit all of our sports activities, right?
Yes.
No matter what. If 2 of us can be there, we're both there.
We're both there.
Always. It's never, I'm tired, not going. It's never that
Never.
for us.
Mm-mm.
But because of that, we're split up a lot as a family.
Yeah.
Very rarely do we have 3 hours at night
Mm-hmm.
together on any night.
Yep.
So, even Monday night that you were talking about, you were at practice.
Yep.
You were at track practice.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
where you were at. Even though one practice was canceled that night. That's why I had 2 boys
Yeah.
home. So, I do want to say it is a little bit because of that. It's not because we're ignoring, but it's just,
Right.
we have to be able to double down now on 2 points. One is finding that time and enjoying it.
Yeah.
I guess it is just this one point, because I say this a lot when I get too caught up and stuff. I'm like, we're living our lives right now.
Yeah.
Today's the only day we have.
Yeah.
And we cannot miss those small moments of just enjoying our family, enjoying each other.
Yeah.
So many times, and I am the worst at it. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm looking at what's what's going on the rest of this week, what's happening next month. And I'm just not living in that moment and enjoying our kids. And our kids are crying out for that more. Even though we're together, sometimes we're not. And that's where I just constantly need to be reminded of that live in this moment, enjoy this.
Yeah. And for me, it's even, when we are split up, I do really focus on, then that is my time with that kid. Like whether we're in the car and, or I was home with them while you were taking, during the last 3 months when I was home a lot more than you were, usually there was a kid with me or two while you were out running with the other one. And so it was like, okay, this is my time to focus on this child and talk to this kid about what is going on in their life. Because sometimes it's not all about just the 5 of us. It can just be creating those moments with just us and 1 or 2 of the kids. I think they like that too.
You're right, they do. And you're better at that than I am. There's no excuse there. I get to honey-do lists that I'm just so far behind on that I've talked about. I know other people know that feeling.
Oh, yeah. It's constant.
It just goes back to I don't know how to relax. And part of that is just sitting down with a kid and enjoying that moment and hearing. I talked about it before on this thing where it's like, even that 5 minutes, just tell me your story for 5 minutes. That's all they want.
Yeah.
And then they're up. And I'm also struggling a little bit with, because we talked about it this week too, it's like when I was a kid at their ages, I was always in my room.
Oh, I was
playing G.I. Joe, playing with my Transformers, drawing, listening to music. Had nothing to do with, not wanting to be with a family.
Right. It had everything to do with me wanting to lose myself in the music that I was listening to or sing or whatever it was. I think it's an important part of development is to have that time away.
They have to break.
Yeah. To have a break. And so it's like, let's not take it personally that they want to be in their rooms right now.
Yeah. I don't think it wasn't until I was older that that was really kind of a way of me trying to cope with the family situation at home.
Yeah.
And then isolate a little bit more in that. So, and our kids aren't at that age, and we have a different household than I grew up in. And for you, it's probably that's why it was nice to hear from you because, your household was probably more like ours.
Yes,
growing up.
I grew up in a very happy home life, and so when I went to my room to listen to music, it was chaotic, and maybe that's also part of it. I mean, I'm one of 5 siblings. Our house, and we were all very involved. So our house was chaos all the time. So maybe part of going to my room was just let me, remove myself from the chaos and have a moment of peace.
Yeah.
Which is probably a lot of sometimes what our kids want to do too. It's pretty chaotic. So anyway, I think that's probably part of it. But it was also just a time when I could think and do my own, whatever was going on in my own head, I could, lose myself in my own thoughts a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's weird. Sorry if it is.
No, God, no.
Insights into, 15-year-old Megan.
No, those are all times, in our lives that we all know we are searching to find ourselves, and magical times also.
Yeah.
That's why I just ultimately don't want our kids to be robbed of their innocence of enjoying childhood.
Yeah.
As you get into adolescence, the weight of the world, you start feeling it a little bit more, and you need to develop coping mechanisms, to handle that, well too. And that's another thing that came up this week, is just all the pressures that they're under.
Yeah.
And I will say that they probably do have more pressures than we did growing up. We dealt with a lot. We did a lot. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know that we ever had, at least I'm speaking for myself, the pressures that they have. They're scared out of their minds to take STAR tests, state tests.
Yeah.
I couldn't have cared less about those.
Right. Yeah, they're very for me, it was like a free day. I didn't have to learn anything. I just had to fill out bubble charts.
Well, filling out the bubbles was a little stressful because you didn't want to get outside of the lines. That was a little stressful, making sure those bubbles were perfect.
Did you make sure they were perfect too? I would erase it if I went out.
I did, but the harder ones were the ones that were the rectangles.
Yes.
Those drove me crazy because you had to be very precise.
You had to be very precise. I liked the bubble. I'm much better at circles.
Scantrons. They still have Scantrons?
I don't know. We'll have to ask.
We need to do a whole episode of do they still have this? Maybe that's another one of our segments. We need to start writing down segments. I'm peeved.
I'm peeved, and
Not Scantrons.
the fact that you pulled out Scantron is pretty incredible.
Yeah, do they still have this? Because we're starting to show that
Oh yeah.
age in more ways than one for me, for sure. But
Oh my gosh, it's like the gray.
anyway, well, we didn't vent too much this week, which is good. And
But one of the other things that is cool, and I know we're getting at time here, but given all the things going on, I happened to look at my phone yesterday and realized the date.
oh yeah,
And it was 20 years ago yesterday that we officially met,
yep, that's exciting.
which is super cool.
That's neat.
Like
20 years, 2 decades.
2 decades.
Does it seem like it's been that long?
So yes and no.
Yeah.
Like, because I can't imagine my life without you. So it's like you've just kind of you're part of me.
Yeah.
And so, like, of course, that's been there all the time.
Yeah.
In some ways, right? So in that case, it feels like it's
Yeah.
long. But then you're like, oh my God, where did 20 years go?
Yeah.
I'm still 25. Like, what in the world happened?
Right.
That mirror tells me I'm not 25.
You gotta stop saying that. You still look great. You still look very young.
Well, thank you. But I've seen pictures of me at 25, and I do look a little different. That's okay.
We all do, love. That's what happens.
That's what happens. It's a part of it. But I have you to grow old with. So.
That's right. No, that's fun. 20 years. So
20 years. And one of the things that we talked about over all of this, you're like, how do we get through all this? And I was like, we get through it together. That's, and it's like 20 years we've been getting through all of it together. So it's pretty cool.
yeah, we watched The Notebook just the other night.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want? Anyway.
They got through it together, I guess was my point.
Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm. That's how we're gonna go too in the end.
Yeah.
It's gonna fade off.
Yeah, although I don't really want Alzheimer's, but
Oh yeah, don't put that on me, Bobby. Don't you
don't
put
put
that
that on me, Ricky Bobby. Anyway, well, I know we're getting on time, but we have a really exciting week coming up. So we'll have plenty to talk about in the next episode. We have big tournament. We have a very busy weekend coming up with a whole bunch of soccer stuff. So this is kind of our first foray into an international soccer tournament and all of that, which takes up over a full week.
Yeah, you have to qualify for.
That you have to qualify for. Mm-hmm.
They play during school hours. They actually get excused from school.
Yeah.
Big opening ceremony.
Yep.
Going to a professional game this weekend. You're right. We have a lot going on this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to get my energy up.
Yeah. We're going to have to go to bed early for the next 3 nights in order to have enough energy for the weekend, which will leave us completely depleted for the following week. But
yeah.
Choo choo. All aboard the chaos train.
Choo choo. Yeah.
That was so lame. I am so sorry.
I was like, maybe that's just how you end it. That's the new ending, is you just saying that.
No.
Even the station. We'll just go all in on that choo-choo train metaphor. But you're definitely the conductor doing that.
No, I don't want that.
We could stand up and out of the frame at the very end while you're going choo-choo.
It's very Mr. Rogers feeling, right? Because remember the train to Make Believe Land or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And, you would watch the train leave and then, anyway.
I totally remember that. I feel like we had a secret closing track last week. We closed and then we had 2 more minutes of a secret track.
If you hung on.
Did.
Yeah, if you hung on. Yeah, because we did our closing and then you and I kept talking. We're like, how do you think that went?
Yeah. So let's not do that one again. We'll just close it off right about here.
Yeah.
Somehow. Smartless actually talked about on their last episode changing their ending because there's only so many words you can say with the word "buy" in it, right? Bicycle, buy. And in the end, Arnett was like, well, guys, whatever it is, we really need to have the listeners. They need to buy in. And they stuck with it. So.
Of course they did.
We might just have to stick with ours too.
Well, yeah, because we finished each other's.
You can't say that. Is just so bad to say it like that, though.
Really?
Yeah, just starting it over like that. Well, yeah, because it needs to be coming naturally in a conversation in a story,
Yeah.
like we did earlier today. That was perfect example of how to do it.
It's true.
Yeah. And now we're spending like a minute. These people, everybody's already hung up. Nobody's even listened on it because they're just like they're getting to the sandcastle. So.
Or the snow angel. Or the sandwich.
Yeah, you never know. You never know how you're gonna finish my.
Sandwich.
There you go. All right. That's it. That's a wrap for this week. Hopefully next week's better. Positivity.
Positivity. Thanks all.
See ya.